Welcome to the Champions of Active Women podcast. In each episode, we share stories and experiences of active female role models and individuals who support the active pursuits of girls and women. Our goal is to encourage and inspire girls and women to be active for a lifetime, to reach their goals, and to break new barriers in sport and life. This podcast is brought to you by the Active Women's Health Initiative in the Sports Medicine Research Institute at the University of Kentucky. The mission of the Active Women's Health Initiative is to optimize health and promote physical activity and wellness for girls and women across the lifespan. If you enjoy this podcast, you can make a donation to the Active Women's Health Initiative at uky.networkforgood.com. Your contribution helps us empower all girls and women to find their inner athlete and become athletes for life. Rebecca Weiss Bowers graduated from the University of Kentucky with a degree in Communications Sciences and Disorders. As a speech-language pathologist, Rebecca has worked with both adult and pediatric populations in hospital, outpatient, Kentucky First Steps, and school settings. In 2013, she started her own business as an Arbonne Independent Consultant and is currently a Regional Vice President. Rebecca has always loved being active, participating in cross-country, track, and cheerleading in high school. After college, she continued distance running, competing in several half marathons with her husband and family members. Then in 2015, Rebecca joined a women's powerlifting team and continues to train and compete. She is the mother to an almost 4-year-old and has been married to her husband for 8 years. Well, welcome, Becca. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you asking me and inviting me to hop on.
So I want to start our conversation today talking about health. And in an email to me before we got connected, or as we got connected to do this interview, you said, quote, "As an adult, I'm an advocate of health. I've come to realize, of course, health means different things to different people, and that meaning could alter according to the season you are in." So I'm wondering if you could just talk us through what health means to you and maybe how that's changed over time.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's one that I've kind of thought about in my own life. Um, for me now, health very much captures, where are you physically? Where are you mentally? Spiritually? Do you feel fulfilled in your occupation, your career? It's kind of all of those things. And I don't know that balance is ever achievable, but I think feeling fulfilled, like I'm on the right track, I'm becoming the best version of that I want to be, what my vision is in those aspects. Now, it hasn't always been that way. I used to just view health as physical, because I grew up in a small town and a very small community. So you're involved in the school activities and because that's the center of the community. Mm-hmm. And sports were huge, sports are huge. And you just kind of conjured up that idea of health is physical, whether that's your skill set, your appearance, your strength. But moving through college and post-college and finding my own way through activities that were related to sports, whether that was running and then later lifting, I just really began to think and find that health is so much more than that. And when you are good on the inside, it tends to just kind of seep out into all aspects of your life. And so that's a bit of a mission for me, is to do my part in whether that's inspiring others or listening to others or whatnot, talking about what that means to them.
So it really sounds like it's become much more holistic over time, that it started out as this just one note thing and it's become more holistic over time, your view of health. what things or people were influential in changing those perspectives?
Mm, um, I have to say, post college, it became the 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 people I began to associate myself with were really influential in pouring into me more of a holistic perspective on physical activity, talking about things that I had never really um, talked much about. I'll use working out for an example. I just thought at the time in those younger years that you busted at the gym every single day and it will equal X. Which when I began to train with who's my trainer now, he was really talking about, you know, are you getting outside? What's your nutrition like? What's sleep look like? There's all these other aspects, and then of course, I have to say when I ventured down my entrepreneurial path in business, that came with a lot of people around me in that space as well, speaking of personal growth, and not the sappy kind, but like literally working through um, those concepts in our mind that kind of get in our way, that kind of prevent us from um, getting stepping out of our comfort zone, or that voice in our head that says, you probably shouldn't do that because X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
And so I would definitely think, it was funny because I just celebrated my 8th wedding anniversary, and that marks truly this journey of change for me.
Mhm.
That's when I really started training with my current coach and trainer, who I have a lot of respect for, and then in business. And that was really where I was poured into by those factors. So I think that was really the turning point for me. And it was both those groups of people that I'm forever just I have so much respect for and am thankful for.
Yeah, so I love hearing about the influence of other people in that journey. You mentioned earlier sports being a part of your youth and growing up, and now leading into your activity today. Can you just talk about, I know it's one piece, but can you talk about how physical activity is related to your concept of health and to your own health?
Well, a big part of my lifestyle is lifting. That's something I came into around. I started strength training in 2013, and then started into the world of powerlifting in 2015, and that has become a big piece of my life. Not only in the actual physical act and learning the form and gaining the strength along the way, but just the mental strength that you gain learning, um, when it feels heavy, that it's supposed to feel heavy, but you're okay. You're
Yeah.
strong enough to like do that.
Hmm.
And so that has become a huge part of me, and something I never expected would happen. But the interesting thing is, I have learned through powerlifting to tell myself, you can do hard things. Like, this feels crazy heavy, but you can lift it. You've trained, you've prepared for it, you can do it. And I now have a 3-year-old, almost 4, and I find myself saying a lot as a parent as he is learning new things. I can see him, kind of shine away from that, like, you know, and that influences all aspects of my life as a parent, as a friend, as an entrepreneur. Those skills. It's funny. I joke with my training partner all the time. What we've learned in training and in powerlifting exudes into all aspects of our life.
Yeah, it's such a cool transferable skill, right? And
Yes.
and it's amazing that you can learn that kind of thing through powerlifting. So
Yeah.
I'm so intrigued about this part of your story, that you are someone who, it sounds like, was not really into lifting at all, and
No.
find yourself now on this powerlifting team. So talk to me about how that happened and how you had the confidence to try something new that was so different than what you had done before.
Yeah, it's so funny because I dabbled in cross country and track for a couple of years in high school and just carried that on. I loved the mental outlet of it. So, I just ran. But there just came a point where my sister was actually like, you should start training with my coach and look at lifting. And I kind of just rolled my eyes because I had this terrible preconceived notion of lifting. I was so, because I come from a background of warped body image anyway, and you know, struggling with eating disorders, and I just thought, no, I'm not going to do that. But I did. I bought a pass on a Groupon, actually, when Groupon was still cool,
Yeah.
and and I loved it. I loved the vibe. I loved the challenge. I loved the whole approach. And around that time, I hadn't been training very long, just learning how to use weights and push a prowler and those sorts of things, when there was a group of women forming to powerlift. And I was so inspired because they were all walks of life, all shapes, sizes, all ages. And I thought, that's awesome. And it was watching them that inspired me, to act on that feeling of, you could do that, Becca. Like, you could do that. And so I jumped into it. I told my friend Heather, she's my training partner, I said, I'm gonna do this in 2015. And our coach laughs at us all the time because I mean, we did not have, neither one of us had very much muscle on us at all. We were just very tall and very we just didn't have any muscle at all. And Jim will look back at our beginning pictures from those days and kind of see that transformation. It's interesting too. Even I look at my posture. When I first started at lifting, I was very like, I don't want to look, super tall, or I want to kind of slouch back. I don't want to be seen. And, now when we take a group picture, we're all standing, shoulders back, confident. It's just amazing, the transformation that's occurred.
So it sounds like a really amazingly positive experience in your life, and that, over the past few years. I found it interesting that in your email to me, you said, I really wasn't a gifted athlete, and I'm wondering if you now consider yourself an athlete, and kind of what that transformation feels like.
Well, that's a great question. I do consider myself an athlete now. I didn't before. I was just, in high school, it was just sports that you played. You were an athlete, but I never kind of saw myself as an athlete. And yeah, when I entered into powerlifting, I thought, man, it would be so cool at the time. The number 200, to lift anything 200 on a deadlift or a squat was like massive. And to even think about 300 was like massive, super massive. But it's like anything, with consistency and hard work and a drive to work at it, which I think has always been my skill set. It's not that I'm gifted athletically or any of that, but I don't mind the journey. I don't mind the work. I don't mind showing up and being consistent. And I can remember the first time I lifted 300 pounds on the deadlift. And it was in the gym. It wasn't even at a meet. It was in the gym. And it was just so cool that you finally realize, oh my gosh, I am them. I am there now, and then when you do that in a meet or more and you're getting those PRs and being recognized, it's cool. It's so awesome.
So you've reached that 300 mark, which it sounds like you weren't sure you would ever do. It wasn't in the original plan, perhaps, or
No.
it just wasn't in the thought process.
Yeah.
So what's the next goal?
Oh man. My next goal, well, I mean, I would love, you know, would it be amazing to be able to lift 330, 340 on a deadlift? It would be amazing. Right now, my PR is 314. Now we've not done a meet for a while, just given what's been going on in the last year. But and then I can remember, on the squat, wanting to go over 200. I've been able to squat now 211, and so you know just I don't know, moving, you you too have to expect a certain amount of gains, like not massive jumps. The heavier it gets, the gains are a little smaller. So it's just working. Right now I'm kind of at the point where let's see how far I can go. Let's just continue to show up. Let's see how far I can go. And I'm not intimidated. I mean, like, granted, it can feel heavy, but you know how to mind your mind. You're like, ugh, that's heavy, but I've been here before. Let's see what I can do. And I trust my coach. We earn our way to the weight. He does not let us put that weight on the bar unless he feels confident that we can do it. So I think that's another big piece. I've learned to really trust and value his coaching, that he knows you're capable. And he's, said to put weight on there before. I'm kind of like, ooh, I don't know if I can do, He's like, just pull it. You can do it.
Mhm.
So.
So you've found a way to be active that you really love and you enjoy. What motivates you to keep going? What are the things that, if you have a day when you're really like, oh, I assume you have these days where you're like, really don't feel like doing it today. What motivates you to do it on those days or on all the days?
Yeah. So, and I definitely have those days. Sometimes people say, do you ever have a bad day? And I'm like, yes, I do. But I think it's just, I'm 42 years old. I've got a toddler who's about to be 4. I have a big vision and direction for different parts of my life. And so I show up because I want to be able to move. I want to be able to feel good. I think in a world where maybe we can't control a lot of things, this